Okay, so let's look at some of the factors that influence blood alcohol concentration when you have a drink. So alcohol is going to be absorbed from the GI tract when it's administered orally. And most alcohol, 90% pretty much, is absorbed in the small intestine. 10% is absorbed actually in the stomach. So I mentioned before that, remember that we have two enzymes which break down alcohol. There's alcohol dehydrogenase and there's cytochrome P450. Alcohol dehydrogenase is actually present in the stomach. So the more you can delay, the passage of alcohol through the stomach, the more alcohol will actually be broken down before it reaches the small intestine for sort of maximal absorption into the bloodstream. So if you eat food, before you start to drink, you'll get less alcohol. So food is a typical way to sort of slow the absorption of alcohol and reduce the absorption of alcohol. Particularly things like milk and dairy products actually do a great deal to sort of slow the process. So a little cheese and crackers and cheese with your wine will help to slow absorption. Alcohol ultimately crosses by what we call passive diffusion. So that just means if there's a lot on one side and a little on the other, it's our concentration gradient force. The membranes of your small intestine are quite permeable to the passage of alcohol. So if there's more in the small intestine than there is in the blood, it'll pass right over. So another factor affecting your ultimate blood alcohol concentration is how concentrated, right? How much alcohol you're absorbing at a particular time. So if you have a glass of beer, for example, there's less alcohol in a glass of beer than there will be in a shot of whiskey. So the whiskey will actually be a more concentrated, alcohol, and so you'll get more of it crossing, from the small intestine into the blood. There are significant gender differences actually with alcohol absorption. It turns out in alcohol, circulation and gender differences that will influence blood alcohol concentration. Alcohol dehydrogenase. Remember, this is the enzyme present in the stomach and also present in, the liver that will break down alcohol. It's the version in women is about 60% less active. Another kind of factor that can influence blood alcohol concentration is aspirin. If you take aspirin, actually that inhibits alcohol dehydrogenase. You're gonna get more alcohol if you take an aspirin before you take a drink. And aspirin apparently inhibits alcohol dehydrogenase activity more significantly in women than in men. So there are these gender differences that can influence blood alcohol concentration. Another gender difference to think about is that on average, and this is just purely on average though, women tend to be smaller in terms of body size than men. So the same drink, given a smaller body will, generate more alcohol in the blood, right? The final sort of factor that can influence blood alcohol concentration is something, it relates to genetics, which specific genes, you express. For example, different forms of ALDH, which will take that toxic acetaldehyde, right, which is the compound that's generated by the action of alcohol dehydrogenase when it breaks down alcohol. Remember, you produce that toxic acetaldehyde. ALDH takes that acetaldehyde and breaks it down into non-toxic compounds. In some individuals, they inherit an inactive form. In fact, in many parts of Asia, the inactive form of ALDH is more common in the genes than it is in other parts of the world.